So recently, I inherited a bunch of bonsai from my brother who moved to Japan. He had been growing these for 2 to 5 years. And when I inherited them, they're actually ready for repotting. So I've taken on the challenge of myself to make some pots of my own. And in the spirit of inheriting and re-giving and recycling, I decided the batch of reclaim that I made in my previous video would be perfect to make these bonsai pots. As you can see, this pot here I actually gifted to him, and this is one of my previous works, and the little bonsai is thriving, I think. So I find a really interesting philosophy with bonsai. It's one of those things that requires patience and consistency. Here's that reclaim. So I weighed out the bonsai pots to be about 1.5 kilos. I find this to make a good size and weight out of the bonsais. I've made a few of these already, and they're off to fire, and I'm really excited to see how they turn out. Here's an angle of showing how I decided to wedge these up. So the first bunch, I've been spiral wedging, but I've actually been finding I've been getting pain in my wrist from a previous injury. So I've actually started to prefer doing ram's head wedging, which creates a funny shape known as the ram's head. Known as the ram's head wedge. And looks quite comical, and I quite enjoy it. And with a little bit of rolling, you can actually get into a good shape. And because this last ball is about 300 grams of clay, I can just smash on the table and roll it out to get the air pockets out. Over to my workstation. I have just a simple board from Bunnings and a few floor tiles from my fireplace hearthstone that I made. I've recently discovered that those floor tiles actually make really good bats. So I simply tear off a ball of clay, throw a puck onto the wheel, and away we go. This is basically making a tacky surface for the bats to adhere to. So I center the clay up, and with a bit of pressure, I press it down, almost like you're making a dinner plate on the wheel. I like to keep it center. It's not necessary, but it helps keep the tiles, once they're stuck down, nice and flat. So I bring it out to almost the edge of the wheel. I don't bring it all the way out because I need to lever the tiles off. So here's a tile, just a stock standard tile from any homeware store. These are from Tile Cloud. We really liked the earthy, gritty tiles for the fireplace for them. So I throw the big lump of clay down, and I recently learnt that if you slap the clay a lot, it sort of awakens the clay. And now, a simple pull up and pull down. This is to center the piece. This is the coning up process, which I found I do in stages. I'll center the top of the clay almost like you're centering on the hump, and then slowly work it down. I find this with anything over a kilogram a necessary process, as trying to center the whole mass in one go with over a kilogram winds up being a bit too much of a process. There was a little bit of undulation in the side and a few little air pockets, so I scraped the sides off. I make a little divot in the top so I can start pulling the center in. So I'm pressing my thumb down as the main weight, but using my right hand fingers to keep it steady. I always check the depth of my pots. I'm looking for about 1.5 centimeters, and I simply do that with the needle tool. And now I'm pulling the center out, and this is creating the base of the pot. So with bonsai pots, they're wide and shallow. If you go too tall, they turn essentially into a flower pot. So it's a weird balance of width and height. And you need to heavily compress the base, because you wind up carving a big hole in the bottom, and if you don't compress it enough, when fired, the base will crack, as you've lost a lot of stability. You also add feet to these bonsai pots later, which I'll show in another video. And having that stability in the bottom is crucial. So here I am doing my first pull. I put my hands down at maybe the 4 to 4:30 position, and I squeeze the clay up. As you can see, I've got some air pockets, just a simple poke with a needle tool and then a compression around the rim, and you can actually squeeze these little air pockets out. It may cause a little undulation, but once this thing isn't spinning, you can pretty much not notice it. So I scrape the sides off, which adds a bit of stability to the clay, and then I add a little flared out rim. Similar to bonsai, every little part of a bonsai pot actually serves a purpose. So the rim helps add almost like a picture frame effect to the bonsai plant itself, and helps show off the root systems that you really need to focus on when repotting, and it can be a huge design which helps show the age of a small plant. Simply scraping off the wet part of the clay helps reinforce it, and I'll get my carving tool, place it under the tile, and lever it up. And pop straight off of the lump of clay on the bottom. You lift it up, and there's one beautiful bonsai pot ready to be dried. So I made a few in this session, and my back and arms were getting a bit sore, so I called it. This is slicing that lump of clay off, which will probably be turned into a bonsai pot later as well. This is made from reclaim though, so it really stinks. And here's a few of the bonsai pots I've made so far. They're off drying on the shelf. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow for more clay stuff. Thanks.